simply go from one episode to the next. Welcome back again, friends, to another episode of Tactical Enlightenment. Our YouTube channel is dedicated to all things Bannerlord related. Welcome back to our Battanian campaign. We roll right along here with our doom stack of aerial assaulting mofos. Now I've got a little interesting couple ideas for today's episode. We're going to save scum, but it's going to be for your benefit, or at least for educational purposes here. We're going to fight this Sturgeon force in the open first, and then what we're going to try to do is see how the Autoresolve does compared to Siege. I will do a Siege defense inside Varcheg, and we'll see how all three of these different variables will basically give you different options and ways to destroy your foe. Let's start with an open field battle. Now this is really good. We've got snow, which is going to limit their movement. They're coming uphill, which is going to limit their movement. And this is going to be a massacre. You can just, the writing is on the wall. Look at our position here. It couldn't be much better. We've got a wall to our right here. We can elevate archers. We can use it as a peekaboo ridge if we need to. So let's talk some tactics. It's mostly kiting. We're going to have some nuances on the kiting though, right? We have two different major skirmisher divisions, the 6th and the 8th. I'll be using them either as hold fire or dumping javelins into the flanks of the enemies. This 4th division, I want them shooting early on. There's lots and lots of crossbow in there. And crossbow, one of the big advantages, I think, of crossbow is you can have them dump their damage and ammo early in a battle. And then they become very useful troops in other ways, mostly defensively, but they can charge on offense. Same thing with the wildlings. They're not great on offense. They're not great in melee, but that's the secondary thing. You don't even need them, for that in most battles because, of course, they dump all their javelins and everything dies. Now let's form our divisions from here. I've got a great spot to command from here. I can see the whole Sturgeon force haplessly trudging up the valley here. Snow does decrease your troop movement, and hills make it even worse. It's not as extreme as the RBM mod, where it seems like you're crawling, but it is impactful in Bannerlord, and that's going to be advantage us, right? Because we're going to kite. As usual, we got cavalry wings protecting both of our sides, right? I've got the 2nd on the far side over there and the 3rd over here. The 5th division of archers is towards the center. That's because I want at least some of our troops in the center, giving us options to turn and flank on the enemy. You can see our crossbows already firing. And this 2nd and 1st division are going to be married. A lot of times we run the 2nd and 3rd division is a line of cavalry with shock troops. Right now our 3rd division is cavalry. So that 1st division is sort of filling that role as shock troops. They're going to have 10, 12, 15 guys, benevolentons and stuff like that. But because of our army makeup, we don't have a huge amount of shock troops. I just think skirmishers are superior, and I hope to demonstrate that here. This is a huge force, a massive amount of sturgeons, but we're going to fill them full of projectiles, and they're going to have a very uncomfortable day here. And we already lost a companion. Was that a cavalryman? It looks like their lords are killing our companions. And I think I mentioned that. It'll be last episode because I broke them in 2, but our companions are pretty weak still. We got to talk about some companions, some in this campaign. Guys want to know about player clans, things like that, and we will do so. But we've got to get these guys leveled up as well. All right, so 3rd division is up there. They're told fire away, right? They're now dumping javelins downhill into these poor troops. They're getting hit by everything, right? Arrows, javelins, throwing axes. We've got some looters throwing their turds. I mean, we just, whatever unit we have virtually on the battlefield right now, they're throwing something. The exception is this 1st and 2nd division over here that are fighting their cavalry, and their job is pretty much to just take the pain, right? For the rest of our troops, I might even square that 1st division later on. Of course, the 4th division also is going to become a square. We got that crossbow division. I just mentioned it, right? That's the advantage of crossbow in a situation like this, is after they're done dumping all their ammo, these guys, once they're finished, they can then be turned into a defensive square while the rest of our units kill the enemy. Opening up our formation here, classic C formation. I want that 7th division especially behind the enemy. But that way all those fiend champs and whatnot shooting the enemy either in the side or behind him like that. I've got the 8th Corps here in a square because I thought they might get attacked. But we can keep them clear as well. If you don't have to get caught up by the sturgeons, don't, right? Every time they get close to you, it kind of seems menacing. Just try to pull your units back. Over there, the 6th Division is close. We'll just continue to oscillate these divisions back and forth. Now, the cavalry's out of javelins, so it's time to use them in other ways here, right? We're going to try to get multiple uses out of all of our units. Let's screen all these archers. See these archers over here getting shot? Let's put a cavalry line right in front of them. In fact, you could see they're being... The enemy archers are crossing our T, right? To use Admiral Nelson's term, or the seaboard, the naval warfare tactic term. Crossing your T is where it's perpendicular to your line. That means all of their archers are pretty much spraying in a concentrated line. Your troops, very damaging. You want to avoid that, and one of the best ways to do it is to simply put cavalry in front of them in a big long line. Now these guys are kind of being attacked. There's some cavalry in here sort of menacing our cavalry, but they're doing their job, right? They're going to absorb a lot of arrows. You want to hear them getting shot by arrows because that means they're doing their job. Now, would it be possible for these sturgeons to be more fucked here? No, not really, right? We're going to actually charge with these divisions now that they're so badly weakened. I'm doing this to save ammo. I'm actually going to have the Fiend Champs as well. They can charge at some point. I think that was a level. We're ripping the levels. And I got a lot more troops to deal with, right? This was 13-something hundred, almost 1,400. So we're outnumbered 3-1. We're going to have a high kill ratio. Now those archers are getting shredded. It's all right. The sturgeons are getting melted though, right? They're getting a few kills in melee. But the nice advantage of all this, fighting while holding fire, is that these units are going to have ammo for the rest of this battle, right? I just told this 7th Division to open fire. The little white thing that's underneath the names, it's underneath usually like the leader of the player clan in the menu. That's how much ammo they have. I think that's Argyle, like 2 years ago, pointed that out to me. Somebody pointed that out to me, and I've been forever thankful for that. Little tiny tip, right? You could monitor the ammo, and we're doing pretty well. Most of our units have about half their ammo, except the crossbow. I mentioned that before. That's why you separate your crossbow and your archers, right? Your crossbow will run out of ammo before your Fiend Champs, before any of your Battanian units. So if you have sharpshooters, for example, you really want to separate them if you're running ideal tactics. That way we can turn these crossbow into a square, while these Fiend Champs that have plenty of ammo left can continue to do their thing, right? They're scoring tons of kills. They might get 500 kills in this battle. All right, so let's start using this crossbow division. First, we're going to form them in a shield wall just to sort of push back these archers, give them a little target to shoot other than the rest of our units. Now we can square them and just wave a red flag in front of the enemy. Please attack this square is what we're saying, right? I'm going to push it basically right into the enemy ranks and tempt them, right? We want them to attack that square. 46 guys. I bet it survives 2 minutes. It's going to get pounded on. Again, start your stopwatch. I bet 2 minutes is a reasonable expectation for how long it's going to last. Now, these poor sturgeons, they're holding up their shield. They're trying to advance, but it's hell on earth. Going uphill against an elevated Fiend Champion. That's pretty close to hell on earth. Most of them can't move. They're doing everything they can just to hold their shield up. Now, we've waved the panties in front of the college student here, and they're on it, right? They're all over it. Which is exactly what we wanted. Right now, the 1st Division I charged, there was like 6 guys left. Doesn't really matter, but this square does. Right, I want that square to survive a little while our archers shoot. I think on this flank over here, we're going to have to advance with these 2 skirmisher lines. They're out of ammo, or mostly out of ammo. But those Fiend Champs behind them, this is where shield and shock comes into play again. Now the enemy's down to mediocre troops already. But you can have a different form of shield and shock. Shield and shock's where units in front, of course, have shields, and units behind them don't. And so you have this protective layer. They don't get shot as they close on the enemy. And then once they do, Fiend Champs and Wildlings fighting together are going to do just fine, right? These units can charge. You can see what's going on here. The enemy's sort of stacking up on them. And because the enemy's down to middle or low tier units at this stage, they're still just getting massacred, right? They probably still outnumber us, and it doesn't mean a fig. They're pouring towards both squares, both infantry lines. We still have some archers shooting. I can still see arrows flying over the head of our infantry here, and the enemy's just liquidated. We're starting to rout. And so this is a little bit of a mic drop battle, right? This is, what was this, 13-something sturgeons. And we don't fight them in a castle siege defense. I mean, we could. Oh, you fucker. We could, but we don't need to, right? We're plowing them in the open here. Our army is just so beastly at this stage, even with mediocre or low-level companions. It's just a throttling. Part of it's vanilla, right? We're used to fighting a lot harder foes than this on the channel because of the Valandian campaign and stuff like that. As we smoke this poor looter, he's trying to run. He's trying to loot somewhere, right? The guy's trying to run off and loot, and they get pulverized here. Hard to have a more resounding victory than that, considering the circumstances. Like we, again, not just win, but we took them behind the woodshed there. Okay, so let's try a couple variations of this, right? That's obviously optimal. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this with the 700 kills for the Fiends, 200 for the Wildlings. I'm going to save this game here, and then I'm going to reload it, and we will both do Autoresolve for the city defense, and we'll also do a little siege expose of Varcheg, which is one of the best cities in the game to defend. It's part of the reason I chose it, right? Not only is it a great buttress and blocks off rebel to enemy attack, but it's an outstanding siege city for defense. We get some mediocre loot. The mediocre loot continues here. We're going to save real quick here, and then we're going to load things back up, and we'll do some editing you will probably barely notice. All right, so we are back loaded up here. Same army, same situation, of course. And this time I want to run an auto-resolve battle. Why? Because this is part of the change to beta. I had actually been lamenting that it was so easy to defend through auto-resolve before the patch. And either they heard me or they heard the general community that it should be a little bit less favored towards the defender. So essentially, when you siege a keep, if you say send troops, which is the auto-resolve, you're more likely to win now. And let's find out how difficult it is on the defensive side. 276. We should have almost 500 defenders here, over 500 defenders, almost 600. This was a battle automatically before this patch that we would win. We've got a good army here. We've got dozens of Fiend champions. We're barely outnumbered 2.5 to 1. And let's make sure it's on hardest difficulty. Let's auto-resolve this and see what this looks like here. I'm just going to watch it slow at the beginning. Already it looks bad, right? They're doing pretty well. And what I mean by the attackers are doing pretty well. 200. It's going to be close. Maybe we'll pull it out here. 300, 700, 200. No, it looks like we're going to lose here, right? 200, under 200, 500. And what a dramatic change. And what a change for the good, right? You can see the Fiend champions down there working. They're still getting a 4 or 5 to 1 kill ratio. But I like this change. I like it a lot, because it's going to encourage players to actually use tactics. So that, it's just not going to work. And if auto-resolve doesn't work, that's good, because it's going to encourage more players to do siege defense. That's good for us on the channel, right? That means people are going to come here because we teach this shit with breakfast, right? Have a bowl of cereal, have a egg McMuffin or whatever it is. Maybe you have yourself a kale salad, and watch as we do some siege defense here. Now, to make it harder, I'm going to dump all our companions, and we're going to wait till they whittle the garrison down here a bit. And I think to make it extra hard, let's dump most of our Fiend champions. We have these Fiend champions. I don't want anybody to say that we're just spamming Fiend champions. We'll do this shit with wildlings and other mediocre archers. That's all we need, right? We can set up some nasty defense. This might be a little bit too early. Might be a little bit too dark. Let's back off and give the sun a few hours here to rise. And then we're going to engage in this siege defense. Sneak in and engage. Now, wildlings, we still have some archers, but this is probably one of the most defendable cities in the game. And I'll say this, I think this is the most intricate city as far as secondary defenses. I think there are more potential secondary defenses and tactics that you can do in Varcheg than any other city in the game. Let me repeat that. This city is the most dynamic for siege defense in the game. It has many different options and layers. And you can see from this overhead view, we have all these different layer upon layer of walls and crenellations. It's really designed beautifully. Now, the AI does tend to get a little bit juddery in this city. We'll see if we deal with that here. But we've got all these ramps and pinch points. I can fall back to there. And so I think this is going to be highly successful and entertaining, right? Stick around. This is not going to be a normal siege defense. We'll do a little bit of, this is going to be a little bit of mad scientist tactics here. Now, the first division I want to be our strongest division. They're at the gate. They're going to get pounded on. And I wish we had less we don't have any fiends in there. I wish we had less wildlings in there. See all the javelins? Eventually, we're migrating towards a Sturgeon veteran spearman slash legionary slash couple other infantry guys so that we can separate our wildlings. I don't really want the guys in javelins right there. In fact, I want javelin guys like back here chucking javelins down into the courtyard. Now, this upper area we need to defend. Let's see here. We got ladders there. Sometimes you're not really sure how the enemy is going to approach your troops. So what I like to do is have a couple of squares in place, and we're going to micromanage during battle. Oftentimes we show you guys tactics set up before the battle starts, and I think you could do that here, but we're gonna explain stuff. We'll do some slow-mo this episode, and then what we'll do is we'll get back to the Battanian campaign. We'll reload the save game after our open field crushing, and we will get back. In other words, this battle doesn't count. Like if a companion if a companion dies, we're just gonna save scum and reload that previous open field whoop ass. I think that's pretty good. We could get archers also on this ramp here, and they have, theater style seating for their shooting. They have theater style shooting as the FBI tunes in. You want these guys in either line or sometimes in shield wall. That way they're compacted. That looks a lot better. Just don't forget those crossbow in a shield wall won't shoot. Just something I want to constantly remind fellas in case they're using shield wall with their archers. There are times where it works beautifully, right? With Battanian Fiend Champs, shield wall is just fine. They'll be a little bit tight, and maybe 1 out of 20 can't shoot, but all the rest will be able to shoot. Now we've got probably 3 infantry divisions that have javelins, but early on here, I just kind of want to assess things. I'm trying to think of what we'll do here. The enemy's going to take at least 2 or 3 minutes to get up to the walls. Normally we fire catapults, but I don't know if you saw, we don't have any catapults. All we have is a single ballista. So in theory, this is going to be an even harder siege. And like I said, in theory, that's because this siege is fucking over. Look at this defensive position. All these crossbow and archers have beautiful line of sight right down to the gatehouse. These skirmishers here have a good spot to chuck javelins, and we can pull archers back here and make it even more savage. This is going to be destructive. Taking forever. We'll probably do some editing here. I'm starting to get a little impatient. We'll just edit that out. You guys will barely notice. Fancy editing. I'm going to hold fire here with this 2nd division and that 3rd division until the enemy's up here, right? We don't need to throw javelins over the walls and do 5 points of damage when we can hit guys right in the face at 10 feet away, 3 yards away, and do major damage. Now, these archers here have crossfire. Not only are they going to protect the guys on the ladders here, but they're going to be scorching guys at the gate, right? It's a really savage keep layout. We're slightly vulnerable here. I hear an occasional arrow being shot up. In fact, I see arrows landing. They can probably hit us with throwing weapons, but our archers are back, our shield walls are forward, and the siege is about to commence, and it's a huge force, right? We don't have the battle size mod going, but they still have, 700-ish troops because we have, of course, the maximum size battle. People ask sometimes, how's the performance with the beta? To me, there's no difference, right? You have all these graphical and light flares and diffusion, smoke diffusion of all the light. And I have no decrease in graphics frames per second. Now, strong PC, right? It's probably $1,000 PC today. I bought it new $1,500 a year or 2 ago. But that's not that expensive these days, right? It's amazing. When I was young, like a lot of you guys, a new powerful PC from like Alienware was $5 grand, $6 grand. You were either going to Hawaii for 2 weeks or buying a computer. And you know which one the wife wanted. I did not get a gaming computer until I was older. You young guys that have one now, man, you guys are spoiled. I don't mean it in a bad way, but try to appreciate what you have. A lot of guys they're running on a potato. All right, let's look at this side here. It looks like they're stacking up. They're coming up the siege tower. I don't think they're going to come one at a time. I think they're going to come in a big horde. We'll see how this develops. But I feel really good about this, and I think we'll do a secondary defense combined with this. So consider this first way a perfectly viable way to defend the castle city. I bet we would get a 10-to-1 kill ratio out of this configuration. This crossbow division, we can move closer. Again, that 15 yards, 10 to 15 yards distance from the front line of your crossbows to the gate is probably an optimal distance. That way they don't draw aggro from the troops coming through the door, and yet they're close enough to maximize damage. Here, the AI looks like they're rallying towards our right, and the whole time they're doing that, they're in a shield wall pointing their shield the wrong direction, or at least some of them are. We can pound him with javelins here, right? Let's make it more miserable for him. Look at the guy's getting pounded with javelins here as he tries to backpedal. At least he's holding his shield up in the right direction. That's good AI. They're not just getting smoked off the wall. But a lot of these guys are. These guys are getting pounded. And you see this behavior sometimes. The AI knows it can't attack piecemeal, right? Coming off a ladder, it would come in 2 or 3 at a time. It knows it can't come in and try to fight you 2 at a time and just get shot to death. And it looks like it's doing the same thing over here. So it's actually good behavior. It's good coding. They're trying to build up, 100 troops or something like that in a shield wall, in a square, protected, and then all rush at the same time, right? Kudos for Tailworld for designing that, because otherwise this would be so easy and so boring. The enemy would have no chance. They don't really have any chance anyways. I've got skirmishers ready to go. I've got a secondary defense anytime we want it. We've got the 6th Division up on the roof here, just scorching them. This is another one of those castles, I think you could argue, another one of those locations in Cal Radio. I think you could argue that the Tier 1 is actually better than the Tier 3 for defense, which is, it's a strange thing, right? Now, you are more vulnerable, right? The guys that are out there like, oh, never upgrade my city to Tier 1. I just thought of a good reason to still upgrade it. It depends on the city, right? So it's going to be a case-by-case situation. But cities, their walls fall really fast at level 1. So if you're level 1 walls and you think your city is going to be awesome because the enemy is going to get destroyed with siege, don't forget a lot of sieges, you're not there. It happens when you're not there. They may blow the walls down and siege down the city before you can get there. So I think there is an argument for some cities. Oh, shit. I guess they got a trebuchet guy blasting us, or a catapult or whatever. But there may be some places where definitely it's better to upgrade the walls, right? If you have these level 1 walls against a bunch of trebuchets, they're gonna break your walls, and then you're really fucked. I'm not sure I can get up here. This is a really cool city. Some of the cities are kind of bland. It was cool until I couldn't run through that magic wall there. It'd be nice if they cleaned that up, right? Just rode around on a horse and made it so that you can go through there. That's for sure something the programmers can fix. Same with that. I should be able to go... I mean, my horse would get killed in real life, but I should be able to go down that if I want. Now, this is nasty, too. Talk about a fucking beautiful spot, right? I do. I feel like those guys with the RPGs and that clear and present danger, right? Shooting at Harrison Ford. I can get a line of skirmishers up here in a shield wall with archers below us here. That's the 6th Division. And just spray everything in sight that comes through this funnel with javelins. I mean, looking at this is one of the best pinch points I've seen in the game so far. It's nasty. Now, the enemy theoretically could go around, but then you could jam up the top and jam the stairs up. And the only advantage they would gain from that is shooting down on you through the crenellations. Now, I want some archers divisions in here. What we're going to do right now is basically simulate you got blown out at the door, right? You got 250 troops, or maybe things are starting to look bad at the gate. Your square... By the way, if this happens, if you're in a bad situation and going to fall back to a secondary defense, take your square at the gate and shove it into the gate, basically right in front of it. That'll buy you some time to get your units back. Because if you don't do that, if you just have everybody fall back and you're being overwhelmed, well, the overwhelming thing is going to... Whatever it is that's overwhelming you is going to follow you the whole way, trying to kill you the whole time, right? So just keep that in mind. You want to give the enemy... Oh shit. Our horse is bugged. Damn it, it's in the way of some of our guys there too. So I guess I got pushed, I think. Now our horse is stuck in the leaping animation here. That's kind of unfortunate. We'll have to fix those guys there. I need those javelin guys here for full effect. But just keep that in mind, right? That's another... I try to slip in these little points here and there. You know, level 1 walls, be careful, right? The walls are going to get blown up. And there are other things that you want to consider when you're making some of the choices we're making. If you're going to have a secondary defense, make sure that your square either at the gate or near the gate is sizable. Otherwise, you're going to get blasted. Here, you could actually put a square kind of right in front of us in this pinch point. If you put a couple squares in there, you would have time to set up your archers, and here they come, right? The music ramps up with a little bit of excitement. I'm sure some of you guys are falling asleep. But this is going to be interesting, right? Because there's a butt ton of sturgeons coming. Of course, a butt ton is a real thing. Guys sometimes laugh. A shit ton is not, a fuck ton is not. Those are not real things, but a butt ton is. A butt ton used to represent fluid. It was typically, I think it was reserved for beer. But a butt ton is like 126 gallons or something like that. So And next time someone says they brought a butt ton of beer, be like, they brought 126 gallons? And everybody would be like, shut the fuck up, you nerd. And then you tell them, oh yeah? You should wait till you see some of our tactics. Who's the nerd now, bitch? You're F1, F3. Who's the nerd? Alright, so you see what's going on here. We've got a ranged false gap. They're trying to throw throwing weapons down there, but what an assault they're under, right? They're being shot. Javelins are flying in there. And if we want to, we can pinch that opening with those squares, right? I want to move these guys back a little bit to expose them to more archer fire. A couple critical things, just like the front gate, make sure that your archers aren't within 8 to 10 yards. If they are, like these guys here, they might get aggroed. And maybe that'll happen here for an example. Now, I want to use these guys, but it's giving me a hard time with the AI, or with the UI. I want to put these guys in a shield wall, arching over, in like a bridge over that double stairway, because those are all skirmishers. They will block incoming projectiles for us, and now they can give deadly fucking give them a volley, right? We can unload javelins down here if the fighting gets fierce. And if you were in a long difficult battle here, I would have those guys hold fire and basically use them when it's getting bad, right? Quote that scene from Star Trek, fire everything, right? You would open fire, and everything is going to die when those guys start throwing javelins. Those are wildlings, mostly wildlings and veteran skirmishers. They're going to have 7, 8, 9, 10 javelins at this stage still. You're going to just blow everything out the wall. Let's give them a volley, right? And javelins just start raining down in here. And anything not killed by arrows now is killed by javelins, right? We'll do some slow-mo here, but what a savage defensive setup this is. Look at these guys. And they're shielded, right? So they're up there protected from archers, protected from javelins. Meanwhile, they can still kill. I'm sure you didn't wait to whatever episode this is, 12 or something, to decide that skirmishers are badass. You've probably already seen they're badass. But I'm trying to give you even more ways you can apply these guys in battle and impress your girlfriend, get laid. Right? That's the purpose of this channel, because your girlfriend is very, very interested in battle tactics. Mine doesn't give a shit. My wife is very tolerant to my little nerdy hobbies. Now that it's starting to make a little bit of money, she's more tolerant. She made the cool little graphics design for the Headless Horseman. She's an artist. Not a bad looking, little Headless Horseman, if I do say so myself. She did it with this little digital program she has. And we're starting to get to trash units here. These guys have no chance, right? They're being scorched and shot. Our square could be a little tighter against the wall here, but it looks pretty good. Now, you can fatten it, too. Don't forget this option. I'd like to mention it's F3, F5 is the command to add units from one division to another, or to make new divisions, right? You want to make a new archer division, F3, F5, right? You just got to have a unit spot to move them to. And this battle is over, right? They're sending up hordes of troops. They got shields, doesn't matter. They're getting blasted anytime we want. Give them a volley, right? Let's watch this shit in slow-mo here as our guys... You can see the javelins flying over the head of our archers here, and the enemy is just cut to pieces. Granted, these are weak troops. We already shredded their high-level troops, right? And they're not even getting any kills. They come up and they swing at the square a few times. There's a kill, a couple kills, but not very many. The death ratio is certainly enough for us to be successful here. Of course, this is your job, is to have fun. Cut down some recruits and other fucking people trying to get in. Remember your archers here, right? I do see some guys aggroing around the right there, and they will come up here and fight. That can be a problem because it can cause basically chaos. Your enemy forces will start pouring in here. Now look at that. Guys are getting smoked in the face in slow-mo. It is beautiful. Just I'll make the sounds for you. And look at the javelins. These guys are up there absorbing javelins. So it's this double whammy. We're doing damage and killing guys. They're not hurting us at all. I mean, that's a beautiful thing. Now, this second division we can bring down here as well, right? That's another added advantage of skirmishers in this case. Your squares are starting to bring down. Bring your squares up, right? Those guys are more than capable of being a square. They're not great because they're not great armor, right? They're designed to be fast, mobile units. But you dump all those javelins, they kill all these troops, and now just like the crossbow, they come up here and they can form a square. Now we're getting a little bit of chaos here. These archers probably could be pulled back a little bit. In fact, let's shrink them. Let's pull some to the 5th division, and we'll replace the skirmishers that were up here on this bridge or stairway or whatever you want to call it, so that we have even more fire on the enemy. Now, the enemy has killed our troops on the far side of the keep there, it looks like. But that's fine. Right? We're not concerned about it at all. Here's where we're making our stand. And again, this is with a relatively weak army. We don't have our fiend champs. What have we done? 50 or 60 fiend champs on the highway? Somebody cried the last time. He's like, you disbanded fiend champs, man. You could be arrested for that shit. And I was like, that was definitely an accident. Normally we don't do that. But we could. Right? You can tell from this siege, we don't need them. Right? I've kept the power bar up for battles like this so that you can watch the progress of that giant blue bar shrink into this little tiny disheveled bar where pretty soon we can just F1, F3 and charge them right out of our city. Now doing a shield wall here, I wanted to show you this. It should work pretty well, but let's see if that crossbow doesn't shoot. Try to grab a few javelins here and join in the fun. I am going to level this guy's throwing a little bit so that he can be a skirmisher archer captain. Oh yeah, that's right. I got to drop some stuff. Now we got some skirmish, some javelins. Good to go. Now let's take a look at these archers here. These guys are compacted, but look at the crossbow, right? He's just standing there. Tell him line formation and stop, and suddenly he will start to shoot. That's just a little thing, but if you got guys standing in a shield wall, it's not going to work out very well for you. And it looks like the enemy is just content to a trickle now. I think they have troops stacked up at the two different spots here waiting to charge. And this battle's over, right? There's just no question it's over. You could tell from the power bar. They're not getting into this formation. I actually have javelins still here. We might go on the offensive. This is kind of like a stalled bug. Sometimes the AI just does not know what to do, right? It just kind of gets locked up. We'll go out and sally and pummel these foes into the Dark Age. Now we'll use these upper ramps again. I didn't want to have to do this, but at the same time, I want to have a numbers result for you. Again, we're just going to reload the previous save game. This doesn't even count, but I want to have an actual death toll and be able to show you the final tally here of this siege defense. What did we lose with field battle? I can't remember. 200 troops? Maybe we lost 60% of our army or half of our army in that open field battle where we won at the beginning of this episode. Autoresolve we lost, right? There's no question that defending sieges now by yourself, or with yourself in charge is going to be much better than Autoresolve. You can tell that simply by the fact that we lost. Here they come. So we lost the first one. And unless we make a mistake here at the end, we're gonna win this siege defense. And this is with them getting stuck, right? We're having to basically unstick the AI. Still some bugs to work out. We'll probably be saying still some bugs to work out with Bannerlord 4. I think this game is so complex and they're trying so many different things at once that it's going to be kind of a bug machine. Now this is kind of ominous. Our troops are so weak in this siege. We're rushing up here with a bunch of blacksmiths and cooks. It's not going to work very well. So we'll put Ioran Dinars to work, and he's very quickly just becoming an executor. He kills everything. I mean, they insta-die when he hits them. He swings fast. He's got his Falk's equivalent, the Reaper. And it's messy right here. It's actually kind of starting to judder. But this siege is over. Look, they're trying to rally again. They can't get through here. We just have squares everywhere and archers pounding them. If they try to make a flank, we can get our squares to shove onto one side and blockade them. It's been a little bit painful because of the combination of pathfinding, but also the AI's hesitancy, but ultimately success. Now, I think if we just kept our initial defense layout, right, where we had troops behind the gate and troops up here, this siege would already be over. There wouldn't be all this juddering. I imagine us moving our troops all over the place every other 3 minutes is probably badly fucking with the AI. It just doesn't know what to do about it. This city, of course, because it's so convoluted, there's so many different ramps and different things. These guys are dying with 27 arrows in their shield. Because it's so complicated, I think the AI pathfinding really starts to have a seizure. And I think that's part of the reason this episode is sort of finishing in this anticlimactic way. These guys are all like they're like on a dating show. Get off of me. It's weird. The AI now seems like it's designed to almost a zombie style charge you and shit like that. And it doesn't attack. It just sticks to you and looks you in the face like it's trying to kiss your neck or something like that. It's a bit disconcerting. But this siege is over, right? They're down to just this ladder, and these are unarmored Tier 3, Tier 4 archers, Tier 2 archers. The AI is going to rout here. All that stuttering, that's the AI trying to figure out a way out of here, I think. And a little bit more bloody than it probably needed to be, but that's because we spurred the action here by chopping them down one by one at the end. It's still successful. In fact, they just routed. We can get a few more kicks in here, but this battle is over. That's about enough, I think, of beating the Sturgeons. All right, so let's see here. 180 losses. All right, that's amazing. We got a 5-to-1 kill ratio, despite the fact that we had 4 Fiend champions, mediocre companions. We're getting kills with wildlings and veteran skirmishers and stuff like that, and that was precisely my point. Right? You guys can do this. You guys can follow our example here. Use some skirmishers, use some archers. Man, what a pounding this was. So we're going to reload the original save game now. I'll probably save you a little bit of time, a little bit of editing, and we will get back to the campaign now that this little Varcheg demonstration is complete. So we will revert to the previous save game now. This should be where the open field battle was successful. It looks right. It looks like we only had 105 wounded, and Iron Dinar's nightmare is over, right? He still has his Fiend champion. So what's the next step, right? Let's see here. We've got our kingdom. Diplomacy seems like a good path to take. We're going to get into companions at some point because we are going to make some player clans. This is probably episode 10 or 11. I probably won't do more than 20 episodes from this series. There's moderate demand for this series. I suppose if more people were watching it and more people liked it, that might increase it. But I think let's change the landscape here a little bit. We've fought enough in the Highlands arena. We've fought enough by Battanian territory. And this diplomacy is still perplexing. We have yet to get a peace request. I do not have the ability to make a trade alliance. So let's just change some things up and sort of see if it jumpstarts stuff, right? I want to go to war with some other kingdoms here. Let's fight like the Western Empire. Maybe we'll declare war on them and we'll get peace. But before we get peace, let's at least take the money from these guys here. Let's see. We have basically all of Calradia in our prisoner pen here. Let's go and sell all the Battanians and all of the... Not all the Battanians. Let's sell all the Valandians and Sturgeons. I still want to attack... What is it? Seonon. I want Seonon as part of our kingdom. We're going to continue to explore this part, right? This is her inventory. This is new. I think this is great. We got to get her some better equipment here before we send her off into the world on her own, including horses, right? Ostensibly, and we'll have to test this. You can now make your noble companion armies faster. Give them some horses. It's hard to know what they do with them, right? You don't get to... I presume you don't get to check their inventory when they're a player clan, but we shall see, right? I don't know that stage. Maybe you can tell your player clans, let me see your inventory, right? I am the king. Let me see your inventory. So for now, we're going to continue to shove all 9 food items in there so that they gain massive steward EXP, right? These companions, her and the bitter draft guy, are going to be our player clans. We may only do 2 since we're not going to play this campaign out, for 50 episodes. Now we've got to exchange some troops here. I want to get all of our best troops for our next stage, as we are going to siege Seonon and then probably some Western Empire territory, maybe Rotai. And let's sell all of these Valandians, see if we can make it out here. The Battanians have that distinct look. Those are all Battanians. We have Caladog, his sister, or his daughter. We have pretty much all of Battania, and it looks like all of Sturgia just sitting right here. I know this is going to increase war. Some people would say just keep prisoners in a dungeon forever. You know what? That's kind of boring, and I also hope they nerf those perks where they can never escape. It just, it kills the joy of the game. I think you want action, and if you can just imprison all the nobles, game over. You literally fight a handful of big battles and the campaign's over. I'm not a huge fan of that. Maybe you guys disagree, of course. Fire it up in the comments. I don't mind criticism or disagreement. So we're just going to make peace, and I don't see any financial transaction here. I don't see them offering tribute. I think this is probably bugged, and I don't know. I don't think it's supposed to be like this. There's no off. They've never asked for peace, the Sturgeons or the Valandians. Now, normally, when you declare your own kingdom, you're only at war with the original kingdom that you declared independence from, so Battania. So that might be the bug. If the Tail Worlds is wondering, and look, we can just declare war. There's no There's no consequences. We're using a little bit of influence, which reminds me, right? Let's make sure our cities are good here. Let's do some statesmanship, right? People don't understand that Napoleon was also a great statesman. And we've got this city that is hemorrhaging loyalty. If you look at it here, loyalty and security. Now, when you go into this menu here, you can look up close, right? You can see what's really harming it. Security is affecting the loyalty. You can see the loyalty, the security is being affected by a hideout. But I don't really want to do these, right? So let's do it the old-fashioned way, the statesman way, right? We're going to do what Napoleon did with the Code Napoleon, or whatever it was called. Basically, he was a brilliant statesman as well as an incredible general. So we're going to emulate Napoleon, right? We're going to imitation is the best, most sincere form of flattery. And some of these policies are outstanding, right? We get extra influence. And what we're going to do here with these policies is try to improve security, try to improve loyalty, try to improve troops, try to improve our army size. Anything that's plus loyalty, as long as it's not too damaging to our kingdom, we'll do it, right? Because that's going to keep our cities from rebelling. If your cities rebel, you don't get any money from them, right? You don't get any militia, right? A few of these, I think it reduces serfdom or whatever. We'll get to that one, reduces militia. This one here, right? We don't have any non-ruler clans. So every day we just get 3 extra influence. Now we were making about 4 influence per day before we started this. We'll look down. We'll see how much we can change that just by doing policies. It's a bit of an investment because every single one of these I think costs, it's 100 influence. Here's another one, right? We gain extra influence, and we gain security, but we lose a few militia. That's okay. If they're not our militia, I don't care how many there are, right? We need to keep these cities loyal. Loyalty's increased, security, lose 1 influence per day. Some of these we're gonna not do, right? It's not advantageous. This is a big one. Let's look at our influence here. It's already tripled from what it was. It was getting 4 per day. We were making 4 influence every day. I bet now we're making 18 or 20, 25 even. Because every notable in all our cities, 18.5. We got 6.5 from that 1 perk. So do the math. It takes us 16 days for that policy to pay for itself. That's it. Here's, let's see. Workshops. Okay, some of these we're just going to skip, but this, town security. So magistrates, if you've never heard of that, that's the British term for a judge. In Great Britain, they still wear the dipshit wigs, I think. It's basically British for pompous dipshit who went to college for a long time and passes judgment on you. That's what a magistrate is. Apologies if you are one. I doubt there's a magistrate watching the channel though, so we'll make fun of them. Here's another one, right? We gain 1 loyalty and prosperity, and the towns that we don't own, which is 0 of them, have a negative effect. Automatic yes. Now I realize we're using our influence, but you obviously have been watching. We've been smashing everything to pieces. We fucking print influence. We've got a machine inside Varcheg that just prints it out. If you've never seen influence, it looks like little tiny buttermilk biscuits. That's what it looks like. So we make them. I've got our bakers working on it more. And so anything where like we can increase the strength of our army, here's another one, bailiffs, right? Plus to security. The taxes are reduced 5%. Well, how many times have I said money is not an issue now, right? We're at $500,000. We've got all kinds of loot. In fact, I think it's time to upgrade this guy's armor. We got to start looking. Let's take a look in the town after we're done with this. Let's get some good equipment. Let's get, let's start advancing in this campaign. My character's dying too often. I don't have the greatest combat skills. I get a little bit overzealous sometimes. And part of that's because I'm used to the RTS mod where you just take over. Now look at that, right? The loyalty and the security are both taken off. It was in rebellion stage. It was highly disloyal. The security issues were huge. And basically you can think of security, the translation to modern times is crime. Basically there's a ton of crime. You got gangsters and shit shaking merchants down. Nobody wants to live there, right? So your loyalty drops. There's basically all kinds of people. They're scheming and fomenting chaos within the alleyways and shit like that. You raise that security, it helps your loyalty, and everybody lives happily ever after. I think we basically just ensured that Revel doesn't revolt, and probably not any of the other cities from here on out, even if they're foreign cities. Now this is hugely expensive, but we're going to do it here. I haven't had good loot drop, and I'm tired of dying. So we're just going to spend $250,000 dinars here, but we also have a lot of loot. I think we can overcome that and a crossbow. Maybe we can't break even here, but I bet we can, sell 100 or 150,000 in loot. Now I'm just sort of steadily selling loot, and the way I like to do it in case you guys want to do something similar. There's all this loot and you got to scan through it. I basically, my eyes are looking towards the bottom here and I'm looking for masterwork or legendary. If it's not one of those two items, I rarely care. Now, the third thing I'm looking for is on the far right. I look for something that's worth 10 grand. If something's really expensive, you might want to keep it and put it on a companion. But the rest of it, it's carpal tunnel syndrome, baby. Just click as fast as you can. And we just sold like 130,000 in loot. We have plenty more too. So we're going to take all the nice food in the town here. We're going to basically make the peasants all malnourished. We'll be the ones that are nourished. We'll eat 9 meals, it's part of your important breakfast, right? We're going to eat our whatever they call it, our USDA of figs and whatnot. And we're going to have the peasants just eat nothing but bread, stale bread and old meat because they're peasants. We'll do some despotism in this campaign. Now this gal, we need to get some of these extra troops put on her. I was doing it fast, but I pulled a bunch of volunteers off of her. I don't want units that don't have shields. They're so vulnerable, especially against Battania, especially in siege. We're going to try to siege Seonon. It's the capital of the Battanians. It's extraordinarily wealthy. It's very strong to defend. If we can take Seonon, I'll feel content with this campaign, at least against Battania. And I might even try to ally with them, right? It's not like I have a grudge here in this campaign. We're Battanian, right? Or technically we're Battanian. Now, right now the city's still under loyalty, but let's watch that. 23.5, but you can see the number. It's going to be out of rebelling state tomorrow. So we're having kids here. Everything's going right. In fact, there it is. Look at that. The militia is present, 25 loyalty. The security is going up fast. And we live happily ever after, right? Those policies that we did, sure, spent most of our influence. That's okay. It's what it's for. Right? What the hell good is it to have a bunch of buttermilk influence biscuits just rotting away in your bag when you can use them to improve your kingdom? So we're going to tell these villagers, give us all your troops, right? These obstinate villagers here, they don't recognize the true suzerain yet. They will. We're going to take Seonon here, or try to take it. We don't have a huge army. And then I think we'll swing down here, take Uthaline Castle, and I think I'll be content with that. I think I'll tell the Battanians we can have peace now. We'll see. In fact, we'll see if we can get an alliance with them eventually, because I want to explore the diplomatic process with you fellas. I don't know much about it. I do know you can literally tell your ally, I want you to attack these people, but you got to have money to do it. We will see how buggy it is. I may start to make more save games in case it breaks the campaign. I hear reports from Reddit of guys getting a call to war where it's 15 million and they're suddenly you're minus 14.7 million and you basically want to kill yourself, right? Because you're never going to be able to buy another bag of grain or something like that ever again, right? You're basically permanently broke. You're almost like the United States Treasury. You just feel a deep, dark cloud settling over you. 34 trillion and counting. All right, we're going to siege here. 681 troops. This actually should be not too bad. I was going to say relatively easy. I guess we better take it first. In fact, I've had a couple big losses in this castle or this city recently in campaigns. I'm not going to tell you which or where or when, but the AI defends this city pretty well. So we might even try to destroy a wall here. The reason they destroy it well is that first they're going to have fiend champs, right? They're going to have lots of archers. We can go toe-to-toe with their archers, but the angles they get on this city are pretty good. Some cities, there's no angles. They don't have towers to hide behind and get into. This looks like incoming here. Incoming, boys. Start building the defensive barricades. We got ourselves a little battle here first, but that's good. I think this is good. I don't know if the garrison will sally out. We'll see. It looks like they have over 1,000. Hopefully there's enough light here. It's like almost nighttime. Another teenager. They're sending their teenagers. I mean, they're favored to win. This is probably going to be a hard battle. We do a few perks here. Okay, so this is another critical one. You see this top one is governor, right? As long as it says governor, there's no point ever in doing the one that's governor, right? When it's party leader, as opposed to party leader, governor, always choose the party leader, because the governor perks can never apply to your main character. I don't know how many players don't know that, but you cannot be the governor of anything, ever, which is kind of strange. Seems like you should be able to say, yeah, I'm the fucking governor here. Governors can travel and fight and shit like that, but those are the rules. Yeah, this is much darker than I was anticipating, but that'll work. We'll be able to make this shit work here. And look at this shit. We have what I call a pocket ridge to defend our primary archer division here. There's a bowl leading down to it. We're going to be able to do a surrounding destructive attack here, use cavalry there. Now, some guys might frown because we're using the back of the map here, but it's starting us right at the back of the map. So I'm going to do it here. Also, we continue to show tactics to you guys that you may or may not want to use. It's your choice. You don't have to do this shit. We're just going to do this here for this battle. Obviously, you've seen us fighting in the open, brave and less cheesy throughout this campaign. I don't mind demonstrating a little bit of cheese because, well, first, I like cheese. My wife and I love gourmet cheese. I mean, we'll eat some regular cheddar, but we're a huge fan of like a really good, Gouda or something like that. A smoked, and I guess it's like Coda or something like that. The little town in the Netherlands or Denmark or whatever where they make Gouda. There's like a town actually by that name. It's like Gouda or something. I don't know. You guys, anyways, I like cheese, and I don't think it's bad to have these as part of your repertoire. This is not how we're going to fight most of this campaign. This is not how we're going to fight most of the time on the channel, but I think it'll still be effective. And not just effective, it'll be highly destructive. And I want you guys to have these kind of tools in your tool bag, right? This might work against a player. If you're allowed to sit at the back of the map, why wouldn't you, right? If it's an advantage, use it. Now, it limits our ability to kite, but I have a little bit of room here. The 3rd Cavalry Division is guarding this ridge. Let me show you what it looks like for the enemy. They come over this ridge, can't see shit until they're shot in the face. Classic peekaboo ridge. I've got the 1st Infantry Division, which is small, shock troops protecting the cavalry, and I have 2 Javelin Divisions. Let's stick one of them right here. And what I'm doing is kiting into an ambush. I've got the 4th and 7th Divisions out here. They're going to shoot from the get-go, right? The crossbow, I don't mind if they run out of ammo because I need more infantry in a battle like this. I got 12 infantry in that 1st Division, right? That's not going to work. I don't want our skirmishers fighting. Not for a while, right? Because they have 10 javelins. You want to dump all those javelins. Your wildlings, the reason that people on Reddit and elsewhere, maybe you even think or thought before this campaign that wildlings suck, is that people don't understand that their value is in those 10 javelins. If they only had 5, they'd be very solid but mediocre units. With 10, they're godlike. There's a huge difference, right? They can throw those lethal javelins basically the majority of the first part of the battle. Now we got this 4th Division. The 2nd is guarding our left flank over there, and this is good. What we're going to do is pound the enemy here. These guys here are just protecting our archers a little bit from arrows. That skirmisher division in a tight shield wall, they will absorb some of the initial enemy arrows. In case they get charged by cavalry too, they can square or just hold on tight. They're not throwing their javelins. They're just there presenting a defensive front to the enemy. Now, I'd like to cut down these little individual Battanians as they come up because you don't want you guys shooting 700 arrows into one guy. But you can see the setup we've got going on here. Now, the reason it's an ambush trap is we're going to kite right back into the teeth of the rest of our troops. So the 4th and the 7th right now are shooting, and I don't mind if they run low on ammo because the 5th Division is just waiting to kill the enemy, right? We've got this 6th and 8th Division. We're going to start to kite with these guys as the enemy gets closer, and we're going to kite right into the crosshairs of our 5th Division, protected by cavalry up on that back ridge there. The enemy's basically going to walk right into a trap. They're going to be pulled into a trap. They have no choice because they're getting shot. And their cavalry's kind of making a little charge here and see what they do. They're running uphill. Of course, this is by design. They can't see any of our cavalry. They're kind of, chucking a few javelins over. In fact, they smoked the dipshit cavalry commander. That Ethan Bold, the whatever, he is an absolute bitch. I can't remember the last time I had a companion that looked like such a big bitch, and that was so weak. Maybe Castor from the original series. Bonus points if you remember who Castor was, or at least what the implication was to Castor. That'll basically prove that you're like one of my original first 500 or 1,000 subs. All right, so the skirmishers go to work here, and it's temporary, right? I'm just chucking javelins into the enemy. We're now going to peel over this ridge, and what we're going to do is hide behind the protection of all these archers and cavalry, right? These 3rd Division can chuck javelins in there. The 1st can charge and sort of blast their cavalry out of there. And these skirmishers, it's time to kite. Now, it's a little bit tight back here. Maybe, I wish I had another 50 or 100 yards, but look at that. I can put our 4th and 5th Division, or 7th Division, way at the back of this bowl. The 6th and 8th will probably start to shift from our right to our left. That way there's sort of a pocket in the middle. And what we're going to do here is what we've done before in some of these battles. We're going to conserve ammo. Once the enemy's been pounded for maybe 30 seconds, I will have this cav division come in behind him, trap him, and have everybody attack at the same time and hold fire. And it'll basically resemble a mosh pit where the people in the mosh pit are getting killed instead of, you know, floated around on top of the people's hands. So they haven't come over the ridge yet, but they're coming, right? So it's time to start backing these skirmishers up. Here they come. It's hundreds of Battanian infantry. And they're holding up their shields. They're trying to survive, but their shields are going to start to break, and the amount of different projectiles that they're going to get hit with here is going to be intense. The 2nd Division got annihilated, so that tells you the enemy's got some good troops. I put them in a square, and they still melted. All right, so we're backpedaling. They're getting hammered by the 5th Division, which we told to fire, and right, maybe 10 or 15 more seconds. You see the enemy's just sort of absorbing our blows. They should be charging. Here we go. All right, so 3rd Corps coming behind us here. We start to bring in all the forces, and it's a simultaneous command, right? This 3rd Division, come to me, and once they're right about here, all these troops, it basically looks like one of those donuts. The Battanians are the filling, right? You tell everybody to charge and hold fire, and every single unit surrounds and destroys this force. Nobody's bothering to shoot anymore. It's just a complete melee assault from all different sides. And it's going to fizz green something fierce, right? We're losing some troops. They got a lot of infantry here. We're outnumbered. But once our guys sort of surround them, it's going to absolutely fizz green. A little coup de grace here, too, to protect ourselves, to make sure that there's no reinforcements coming over the ridge. We could take this 3rd Division and cut off the enemy archers from approaching. We'll just put them in a big, long shield wall there. And they're basically, it's like we've closed the curtain on the archers. They can't see what's happening now in the arena. All they hear is people screaming and getting killed. They're like, what's happening up there? I don't shoot those cavalry. I hear yelling and screaming. Well, should we move up? I don't know. I can't see. And every single Battanian, look at, they're completely getting gang mauled by our troops. The cavalry does a good job taking some arrows. And now's our time to counterattack. Now, I don't want these guys coming over the ridge. You guys recognize it, you tacticians. The enemy has a peekaboo ridge here, right? No reason to advance, at least not yet, right? Make the enemy come to you. Now, if I wanted to be really patient, we would do that for a whole nother round. I would just sit here, look at the moon, tell some anecdotal stories. But I'm looking down. This is already going to be a long episode, and I want to include the Siege of Seonon in it as well. So I think what we'll do here is get offensive. If you had to charge, I'll basically... Oh, shit. 75 damage to... I got to get a better helmet or something. Was that a javelin? I mean, I have a good helmet, and I still got smoked. And a reduction in melee damage banner. I mean, it might have been a fiend champ at close range or something. Anyways, what we're going to do is we're going to roar out here with the cavalry out in front. I'm bringing the cavalry in a shield wall, and we're going to just place it kind of right in the midst of the archers. Everybody else I told to follow me. God, they are so accurate now with this new patch. It's actually a lot more overpowered than I thought, or a lot more... I guess maybe overpowered is not the right word. It's very profoundly different than regular Bannerlord. You get smoked even if you're moving. I mean, I got smoked while I was on a horse moving in the head twice. They're accurate and deadly. All right, so now our guys are over the ridge. Now we just rain down on the valley. Right, we've got those cavalry taking a lot of abuse up front. We've got manifestly stronger troops, right? We destroyed their whole initial wave. 600-700 Battanians just into the dirt. These are all second-tier units because, of course, they're down to the last half of their army. So it's wood runners getting pounded here. We can just carve through everybody. I want this guy's sledgehammer. Fucker. And, man, consequence of those arrows in the face. Basically, I've been fighting like a bitch this episode. That's all right, right? Tactically, we're winning the day. 650 to 200. We're ripping almost a 4-to-1 kill ratio, and that was against their best troops. And look at the damage our higher-end troops do to their lower end. Right, basically just F1, F3 with some archers in good position there, and they insta-died. We just completely shredded whatever was left, and a big part of that is that first 10 minutes of battle, first 5 to 10 minutes of battle. For the guys who are not real comfortable with tactics, that's one of the things to understand. The most important, and if you're going to learn one thing, is that first 5 minutes. The setup for the first 3 or 4 minutes, maybe it's the first 10 minutes. And then oh shit, this is beautiful. A whole bunch of troops. It's very timely too. Now they're all scrubs. It's absolute looters and volunteers and militia, but we'll take them. Their bodies, we'll stick them in the garrison or whatever. So the first 3 minutes of a battle usually set up, right? You're coming up with your plan, you're setting up your units, and then it's that first 5 to 7 minutes of the actual battle itself that will decide 95% of your battles. We completely immolated the Battanians in that first foray, and the battle was over. I probably could have hit F1, F3 and gone to the bathroom, right? Just took it off. You know, you can certainly experiment on your own. Of course, if it's a huge battle, that's different, right? There are scenarios where that's not the case. If it's 2,000 against 2,000, you're going to have to be tactically proficient for a large part of it. We're still recording. That's good, right? I've had some crashes. I've had some errors. I've had a couple times where the recorder didn't work. So you guys are still with me, and we're going to do one more siege here. This episode is going to be long, but that's okay, right? We'll sneak in an occasional longer episode. And next episode, we are going to do player clans. We're going to talk more about the strategy behind that. We may not do it right off the bat, but we will do it during the episode. I might actually take Uthalheim Castle off camera, so to speak, right? I'm going to do stuff and you guys don't get to see it. You'll just have to trust me. We're going to see, you guys seen 6 or 7 castle smashings. You don't need to see all of them. We'll probably do 1 or 2 more things like that, so I have a few more treats to give out to the minor clans, to the player clans, and then start to get to sort of the end stage of this campaign. This campaign, like I said, is going to be a maximum 20 episodes. I'm kind of aiming for 15, but we'll see. Now, we still got to get through the siege. I guess we could get attacked again, but it certainly feels like we have every Battanian captured, right? We have Caladog, we have his daughter, Coraine, we have a whole bunch of other nobles, and then that entire battle there was like, I don't know, 12, 15 Battanian nobles there. We've basically destroyed everything the Battanians have sent at us. Now, I'm going to siege here, but I'm being a little bit of a perfectionist. I want these troops. I want the next stage to be smooth, so I'm just going to make sure this catapult's destroyed. Come on, baby. One more hit. Bang. Perfect, right? We don't have a siege tower, but we have a ram. We have a hole in the wall. And let's commence the massacre here, right? Well, I keep saying that, but it is Seonon, right? I've actually had major defeats. I think I already said that, but this is a hard city to attack because of these fuck archers. Hopefully there's some daylight here to see. Okay, it's pouring rain with thunder. And is that the most glorious thing you've ever seen or what? The lighting, I don't know. I've ran out of adjectives for it. It is fucking incredible. We'll just swear a little for emphasis. Okay, so our second division is 80 or 90% wildlings, 85 of them. How do you think that's going to go for the enemy? Now that you know what the wildling can do, right? Let's come up with the strategy here. How come you guys aren't on the ram here? Get on the ram. Sometimes units get pulled off the ram. You can assign them to go to the ram. Normally, there's gears you can click. For some reason, I can't do it here. I'm not real sure why it's doing that. I might have a bug. I might have to do that after the battle starts. But you know what? It doesn't matter. We're not going through the front door. Hopefully the ram does its thing and keeps the enemy occupied. But let's speed this up. Let's enjoy the glorious beauty of this game here. And we're going to use the hole this time. I've got all these skirmishers. You've already seen it a few times, but let's demonstrate it at least one more time here. The unbelievable power of archers combined with skirmishers in siege assault, right? Especially here where they're just lined up. They're going to hold their shields up, but they might, like I said before, they might as well bury themselves with those shields, right? Start digging trenches because we're going to have a mass burial of all you guys trying to guard that hole. I've got the 3rd division now coming up. The 1st division I can probably get assigned to the other side. They have, of course, tons of archers, right? Archers all over the place. It's a pretty epic scene. There's like lightning crashing, thunder crashing, and lightning and shit like that. This 1st division here is a mix. I'm not thrilled about that. Let's get the 3rd division brought in here. Don't engage. I don't want them engaging and jamming up the door. We want the door visible. Let's just get the 1st division out of the way here. Let's take them over here and put them up the ladder. It's always good to menace the enemy in multiple locations because what it'll do is it'll pull defensive units from where you want to attack. It's sort of the Sun Tzu quote, right? He who defends everything defends nothing. Well, you want to make your enemy defend everything, right? Because if they're covering every single spot, that means that they're thin in most or all the spots, right? In most situations, they're going to have a hard time defending all of the locations at once, right? So let's menace them over here. This is actually basically a feint attack. We're going to send this 1st division, get up to the top of this get up these ladders. Right? These guys excitedly yell. The gal with the flag is going to lead the way. Not the smartest person out there. I'm stuck. I cannot move. I guess we'll back it out. I feel like I'm in my ladder truck. I drive a ladder truck a lot of days at work. I drive a gigantic 100-foot aerial platform, and that's what that felt. That's what that reminded me of. My vehicle wouldn't fit in the parking spot, so I had to back it up. All right. Well, the enemy on the wall is going to die for sure, but the troops in there are going to be, that's going to be the bigger problem. How do we get those guys out of that hole? We've already noted that they defend really well, but look at that assault, right? These poor bastards are just taking hundreds of javelins. So let's menace them with this 3rd Division, see if we can't sort of force them into a little bit of combat here at the gate. And then we're just going to spray javelins until they're all dead. So they're pounding on the square. You just pull it back and fire away, right? And watch these poor bastards. Look at how sick that is. I mean, there's some ASMR there too, though, right? The Battanians are being just flat melted by our supposedly weak, wildlings. It's awesome. And the javelins just keep on coming, right? This guy's got 3 in his shield, 4. Shields are breaking. It's probably fun to watch, like, the guys that are not front and center, because there's guys probably getting dropped by javelins everywhere, right? The death spam is fizzing. It doesn't matter if they have a shield, right? They're still scorched. Some of them are reaching our wildling lines. You just have your guys hold fire, right? You can charge if they look weak, but I would prefer you just sat here and skirmished. Let them pound on your shields. Meanwhile, the javelins are still flying. They're kind of stuck as they try to retreat here. And you almost feel bad for these units, right? They're being pulverized so bad. Just being filled with fucking pieces of sharp wood. And we have archers adding to the misery, right? Guys are falling from the sky. They're screaming. They just brought more reinforcements, so well, we'll rinse and repeat, right? I guess we'll liquidate their whole force here with javelins. It's not like we're going to run out soon. I promise you we have more javelins. Right, that's just the uber power, right? We'll move these guys a little closer to... There's a couple there. These guys are starting to get low. I see some guys have like 3 or 4, but a lot of them have a whole bag, right? So we can kind of do that again and just flaying them with javelins. Do a little melee here. Now this division is smaller and they're weaker troops. You know what you do here? Fuck you guys. Charge and hold fire. Suddenly, we've got a very strong, largely uninjured infantry line just plowing the road. And that'll leave us javelins for later in the siege. There may not be a later. I just looked up at the power bar, and it's horribly lopsided. Now we can get in. Right now, let's shove our troops in. They shouldn't have let me through. Get off. All right, let's bring the 2nd and 3rd in here and an archer division, and we're just going to sweep through the city. You know, that's the devastate... the writing there, right? When you devastate a city, your troops sweep through the city, taking what they like and setting fire to the rest. That's what we're gonna do right here. Just we're gonna sweep through the city here. Die. I think one of my settings got changed. When I try to block, my guy holds his shield his sword to the side. I'm gonna have to look into that. Once in a while, my settings get reset. Sometimes it happens if the game crashes, come back, and all of a sudden the music is blaringly loud and shit like that. Let's get troops in here behind the other troops, cut them off, make sure there's no retreat, but we can also flank them and pinch them between our 2 divisions. We got the gatehouse. We're in charge of the gatehouse. It's a stunning, absolutely stunning scene with the lightning. I mean, you got to give it to Tailworlds. They've got work to do to make this a perfect game, but it's a pretty damn great game already. Little militia trying to come up and attack me. And the tactics are unmatched. I've played a lot of Total War over the years. It's been a long time. Guys ask sometimes, you ever played it? I played it when you guys were not alive yet. I played like the barbarians in Rome Total War, like, I want to say like 2001 or something like that. It was forever ago. And of course, you start to learn tactics then. I did all kinds of reenactments of battle. I've been playing real-time strategy and/or combat games for about 40 years, a long time. Yeah, I just cannot parry. God, parry when I tell you to. Well, we'll figure that out. I've been switching equipment too much lately, and it shows. I've just been kind of fumbling my way through battles. But the tactics seem to be universal, right? As our troops just sweep through the city, right? Now it's time to loot. take everything. It looks like it's already been looted. They really did make Battanian towns look like disheveled piles of shit. Every Imperial city is gleaming. I mean, maybe at least one of the Battanian towns could be really well made up or something. They just look so ghetto. I gotta get a screenshot with that. That might be the most beautiful scene I've seen in Bannerlord. There's this just multicolored sunset with the sun rays gleaming through the fading light of the day, gleaming through the clouds of all these different colors, some thunder and rain, and it's just unbelievable. You guys are gonna have to just forgive me here. We're gonna take a screenshot, especially since my guys are very busy yelling and screaming as they chase the last handful of guys to the gate. I wouldn't be able to speed this up by any other way than suiciding anyway, so bear with me here. You guys will get to see a little bit behind the scenes. You get a nice little angle here off to the side, picture where the text is gonna go. And you probably saw this when you clicked on this episode, right? With some text saying something like, mangling some Battanian bitches or something like that. And did we ever, right? 120 losses, 660 kills. You're not supposed to be able to do that when they're the defenders. But when you have, when you have the right troops, man, you just start to pound through these poor defensive forces. And it goes back to why I keep saying, the Battanians have the best troop line. Because if you look at it just objectively, the bottom line is that there's no scenario where skirmishers aren't good units on the field. Open field, they're great. Forest, even better. Castle defense, excellent. A town, a village, a narrow area, sure, no problem. Against cavalry, yeah, no problem. Just protect them, they'll light them up. Against archers, a little bit harder, right? You got to disrupt the archers. The archers are the hardest troops to fight in Bannerlord. But basically, they exceed in all scenarios here. Now, we got a colicky horse, which is sick. I'll slow down just so you can read it, but it doesn't really matter, right? We're just going to click one of these. Major props to them for adding this to the game. Now let's just hope that they master this. These should be major events that 80 of your horses are sick, right? Do you execute these horses and you lose a bunch of your infantrymen? Or do you, try this or try... They should be more substantive than one guy. Or let me put it this way. They should scale with the campaign. Maybe early on you care about 3 guys leaving your army. But when you have 600, you don't give a fuck, right? It doesn't matter. So hopefully they make a few adjustments to that and scale it to the size of the game. All right, this episode is way longer than I normally like to make these. I hope you guys can forgive me for that. We will continue to try and make these 45 minutes or so. And we get to the meat and potatoes of this Battanian campaign that is really becoming kind of a slaughter pen of these foes. I don't think we've lost since we've become our own kingdom. So anyways, enough bragging, right? We'll move into the campaign here. Hopefully it's fun. Please hit that like button on the way out of here, friends. I appreciate you guys, and I will see you next time.